Friends, today we will talk about a metal that beats in the very heart of those shiny smartphones in our hands. The silent electric vehicles at our doors and the giant jet engines in the sky. Yet is treated like an unwanted stepchild on the stock exchange. In a year when demand has exceeded the 200,000-ton barrier for the first time in history, breaking records. We will together unravel why prices are languishing at historical lows, the massive geopolitical games behind this strategic knot, and the harsh realities behind green energy fairy tales. Now let us enter the world of this bright but troubled metal. The big story beyond the numbers. Greetings to you all. Today on our table we have the Cobalt Market Report 2024 data and the latest analyses from benchmark mineral intelligence, from supply-demand balances to battery chemistry wars, from the moves of the Democratic Republic of Congo to the rise of Indonesia, even to how artificial intelligence will enlarge the battery in our pocket. We will X-ray the cobalt market. If you enjoy such content, please subscribe, like the video, and drop a hype. If you are ready, let us begin. Lean back, take a sip of your tea or coffee, take a deep breath. Today we will speak not with the cold, soulless language of official reports, but as if we were chatting among friends. Because the issue is deep, it is not just a commodity matter. It is about who will control the next 50 years of the world. Look, somewhere inside the device you are using to listen to this podcast, it exists. In the motor systems of the car you board, it exists. Even in the most secret projects of the defense industry. Inside superalloys that stand tall in the extremely hot environment of jet turbines, it exists again. So, if it is so indispensable, if we call it the heart of modern life, why have its prices entered a freefall in the last year? Why are major mining companies crying we are losing money while production continues to break records? This paradox is actually a summary of how our future is being shaped. Now I want to ask you, even with a bit of reproach, imagine a product whose demand has increased by 14% in 1 year. Total demand has reached 222,000 tons for the first time in history. That means the psychological 200 barrier has been shattered. What do we learn in normal economics? If demand explodes, prices fly, right? But in the cobalt world, logic has taken a temporary vacation. According to 2024 data, while demand broke records, cobalt hydroxide prices depreciated by 15% and cobalt metal prices by 22%. This is where the crux of the matter lies. In a world where demand is so buoyant, why does a commodity hit historical lows? Why do producers on one hand cry, we are sinking, while on the other hand they open the valves to the maximum? Let us solve this big puzzle with numbers and the human ambitions behind them. The 2024 report prepared by Benchmark Mineral Intelligence actually tells us a supply tsunami story. Let us filter this complex data. Locomotive of demand. Batteries. 76% of total cobalt demand now comes from the battery sector. Almost all of the annual demand growth, 94%, is realized thanks to batteries. Electric vehicle effect. Do not fall for headlines saying EV sales slowing down. Yes. Growth rate fell from 33% to 26%, but a total of 17.5 million new EVs hit the road. This pushed cobalt demand to 95,000 tons. Portable devices and AI, this is very critical. The smartphone and laptop market grew by 12%, especially the high computational load created by AI applications, photo editing. Real-time translation on devices has led to the need for larger batteries. So AI is not just software, it became a new physical demand door for cobalt. Mach and Congo's dominance. Here is the real culprit of the supply surplus. The Chinese company increased production at its TEF-M company M sites in Congo so much that it exceeded its own announced capacity by 31%. This single company now controls 31% of the global market. Terrifying supply surplus. The supply surplus, which was 25,000 tons in 2023, jumped to 36,000 tons at the end of 2024. The market is practically swimming in cobalt. So what? The strategic result is this: with prices so low, small, boutique, and local producers in the Yorkshire are being wiped out one by one. This means the disappearance of supply chain diversity. While the West says let us not be condemned to Congo, low prices push smaller mines to close, actually pushing the West further into the lap of Chinese giants. So today's cheap cobalt is cementing tomorrow's Chinese hegemony. Now let us enter the kitchen a bit, friends. Because cobalt's fate is written in the chemical formulas inside those tiny battery cells. There is a massive polarization here. On one side we have China. They are heavily into LFT, lithium iron phosphate technology. LFT contains no cobalt. It is cheaper, safer, but has lower energy. LFT's share in China's EV market has jumped to 70%. Why? Because China's urban transportation structure and charging infrastructure are suitable for it. Small, cheap city cars are perfect for LFP. On the other side is the West, US, and Europe. There, the situation is reversed. Cobalt-containing NiCo, i.e. nickel-cobalt, batteries still dominate at around 90%. Why? Because Americans want range. They want performance. From Tesla Model Y to Ford F-150 Lightning. Almost all of the top 10 best-selling models in the US use cobalt chemistries. However, a game-changing technology is emerging here, high-voltage mid-nickel. This technology optimizes the amount of cobalt to eliminate the safety risks created by high nickel. Using single-crystal cathodes, it extends battery life by 20 to 30%. If this technology spreads, and giants like Cattle are already switching to it, cobalt will maintain its indispensable position. Because this technology acts as a bridge combining the safety of LFP with the power of high nickel. Friends, falling prices not only ruin companies' balance sheets, they also shatter market psychology. Cobalt thrifting, the effort to use less cobalt in batteries, was originally a cost-cutting reflex. But now cobalt is so cheap that some producers are starting to say, why are we working so hard? Cobalt is almost free anyway. But the other side of the coin is dark. Investors do not like uncertainty. If new mines are not open today because prices are low, when demand explodes in 5-10 years, and 2030 targets say this will happen, we will face a huge supply gap. Low prices are actually sowing the seeds of a much bigger crisis in the future. Volatility is the greatest enemy of long-term visions like the green energy transition. Now let us stick the needle into ourselves and the all into Western media. When you turn on the television, what do you see about cobalt? Usually those famous artisanal mining photos from 2016, mud-covered child labor dramas. Yes, these were real and problems still exist in some regions. No one denies that. But why don't we see this data from the 2024 report in the headlines? 82% of refined cobalt is now audited according to the Responsible Minerals Initiative criteria. Glencore's KCC and Rutanda sites. Moxta FM site now have very prestigious sustainability certifications like the Copper Mark. So the industry is actually going through a massive professionalization process. But the media still keeps the dirty cobalt perception alive. Why? Because this perception provides great fuel for Western automotive giants to pressure cobalt prices or market the transition to cobalt-free Chinese technologies under an ethical cloak. While there is a professionalizing supply chain, why are we still only talking about tragedies? Is this not conscious perception management? So is there a way out of this strategic knot? Actually, resistance has already begun. The Congolese government slammed its fist on the table in February 2025 and imposed a 4-month cobalt export ban. This was the message to the world. You cannot close down my strategic resource this cheaply. You cannot kill my market. This move immediately created a stir in prices. Also, remember, cobalt is not just about car batteries. Superalloys, the backbone of the defense industry, make up 8% of total demand. Jet turbines, missile guidance systems, magnets. These are matters of national security. The additional tariffs imposed by the Trump administration on battery technologies from China, and the possibility that China might restrict intellectual property rights on its LFT technology, could make cobalt once again a safe haven for the West. There is also the Indonesia reality. Indonesia, producing cobalt as a byproduct of nickel production, has increased its market share to 12%. Thanks to HPLS high-pressure acid leach operations, Congo's monopoly is now being broken. This diversification is actually a sign that the market will be more balanced in the long run. Friends, today we have discussed the silent yet noisy story of Cobalt, the geopolitical chess behind the numbers. As you see, Cobalt is not just a chemical element. It is a show of force, a struggle for survival, and the greatest contradiction of our modern world. Thank you wholeheartedly for taking the time to listen. All the analyses and figures I shared today are based on the most reliable sources in the kitchen of this business, such as the Cobalt Market Report 2024, Benchmark Mineral Intelligence, and Row Motion. Those who are curious can dive into the details of the report and lose themselves in those massive charts. Until the next episode, where we will lift another mysterious curtain of the commodity world. May your tea, coffee, and curiosity never be lacking. Take very good care of yourselves. Goodbye.